Hi, I'm Celia, and today we're going to draw a Pikaia. The Pikaia lived over 500 million years ago. It looked a bit like a modern-day eel, but was in fact very different and also only 2 inches long. To draw the Pikaia today, we're going to use some coloured pencils, a lead pencil, an eraser, a pencil sharpener, and a felt tip pen. Let's identify and practice the shapes that make up the form. We've got a head, which is a circle. It's more of an oval actually. Then we've got kind of big blob there. And we're going to create a bend, so we're going to put a blobby triangular shape there. Now let's give it a little bit of a flatter fin coming out there. Now what we want to do is have nice curved lines, no straight lines. Don't forget the head tentacles. They're kind of like sausage shapes, aren't they? And then some little sausage shapes for the little tentacles.
Structures popping up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And there we have it.
And there we have it, the shapes that make up a Pikaia. And now for the real drawing. The head, oval shape, the long, slightly triangular kind of blobby shape here. Nice curved lines. If they're not right, just sketch some more lines in. We can always use our eraser to get rid of the lines that aren't working for us. Head tentacles. Thin out that head a little bit. Add the little short structures here. I think there's supposed to be 12 pairs of them. So now we have the basic outline of the Pikaia. Now I'm going to add in some details. So I'm going to add in some kind of vertical lines along the body indicating the muscle bands. Now remember, we want squiggly and curved lines. We don't want any straight lines when we're drawing creatures. Curved lines will make it look more naturalistic. The curved lines indicate contours of the body. You might notice that I'm also adding in a few broken lines here and there, and that's fine too. And now the details are filled in and we're ready to start colouring in. So it's important to remember when we pick our colours that we need a light colour, a couple of mid-tone colours, and 1 or 2 dark colours. We always start with our lightest colour. And I'm going to do that in a kind of highlighting sense. So where you can imagine highlights or light falling on the creature is where I'm going to colour in with the lightest colour. Now with modern living animals, we must draw what we see. But in paleo art, we have more of an artistic license because while we use the information that is available from fossil evidence, there's no evidence what colours a Pikaia really was. So we can make it up. So that's why I've chosen this colour palette of kind of bold and fun colours. Give these little funny little structures a little bit of a highlight there. A mid blue. So remember when we're colouring in that we go from light to dark with our colours, and then of course we pop the shadows in afterwards. You'll notice that when I blend the blue or the aqua over the yellow, we get a nice little green, which is quite pleasing. Now I'm just using the darker colours. You can see that I'm doing some directional shading following the contours of the line work. So always good to remember to colour in the direction you want it to be in. Now I'm creating these dark areas so it looks like it's actually a folding, undulating shape because it's a flexible form. Now you can chop and change. You can do a little bit more of the lighter colour. I find that you can blend the colours nicely by putting the lightest over the top of the mid-tones, and it really makes a luminosity which is very pleasing. So it's always nice to remember blending. And now when I put the yellow over the blue, that's when we start getting some nice green happening. Purple is my go-to colour for shadow. So I mean, I'm always using purple for shadow. But in this case, I'm going to use it as a feature colour as well. Although this area here I'm colouring is kind of a recess anyway. So now I think we're ready to add some of that linear pattern. So it doesn't really matter where you start. So what I'm going to do is go over these lovely curvy muscle band patterns with the purple, but also with the darkest blue. So as you can see, I'm picking almost random parts of the body in the purple. And you don't have to do a whole line. You can also do a few broken half lines when you're going over these and pick up the rest with blue. I've got a black pencil here too, which I didn't initially pick, but the purple's got really dark, so I'm actually going to go over the purple bits with some black so you can actually see the line. Now, just for some more shadow, a bit of purple shadow. All right, now it's all coloured in, looking fab. We've got some purple shadows. It's time to crack out the felt tip pen. Now we're going to use the felt tip pen to go over any delicate details, the linear muscle band pattern and the outline of the creature. So now I'm starting off with the outline of the head tentacles, and I'm going to give a little bit of volume and texture with these little short little lines. You might notice I gave to Pikaia's head a couple of little irregular warts, little nodules or polypy bits. Just thought it might add a bit of interest. A couple of little dots and spots. Now I'm going to outline these little structures. Beautiful. Now onto the outline. Now I'm going to add some little shading lines over the main shadowy part in the fold here. And I'm going to keep going outline lines. I'm going to do the same with the little directional shading lines on the shadow, following the contours that I've created with the squiggly lines. I'm going to go over the squiggly lines of the patination of the body. And I'm going to put my lines in between the coloured lines, sometimes over the top, but it's good to be able to see the coloured lines that we worked hard making. You'll see I went over a bit of colouring went over the line, so I added a weird little irregularity there. If you make a little mistake, it doesn't matter, just keep going, because sometimes things look bad before they look good. Or something that you might be hung up on being a big mistake, you'll find you won't even notice at the end. So never give up on a drawing. Now sometimes you might not want to go all the way up, you can do some broken lines again. I'm going to go over that, make that a bit darker. I'm going in between the pencil lines every now and then so we can still see the purple and blue lines. And here we have one finished Pikaia drawing. Let's examine the Pikaia that we just drew. What modern animal does it remind us of? Apart from the head that actually looks a bit like a snail, the body looks a bit like an eel. It has a rod-like structure running along the top of the body. It's roughly leaf-shaped but flexible. It has a head with two short tentacle structures. It appears to have no eyes at all. It has 12 pairs of thin, short, pointed structures here. And the vertical lines running down the body, following the contours of the body, representing muscle structures.